and you'll go down in history for that.
The problem is that they are still being suppressed because they are not being released.
I know.
And the
I
only
agree.
reason why they're not being released is because of us here, and they're waiting to come in so that they can do their investigation and add more charges to those people so that they never see the light of day again.
But remember, they have more power than us, but they don't have more power than God. And this goes back all the way to the American Revolution. We were hopelessly outnumbered then too, and many of those patriots served time behind bars trying to bring liberty back in the Revolution. But in the end, the message got out, people stood up, and because the appeal to heaven does work, and the prayer of a righteous man does avail much. You know?
I just know we're never going to get out of prison. I just know that.
Don't know that we won't let that happen. We're not going to let them just lock you away and forget about you. And
they impeded the press.
I know.
For coming here and reporting this story.
But you know what? Because of all the message of all this, is despite all the long train of abuses, similar to what was talked about in our declaration, Sandy, despite all this, more and more people are waking up because of it.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
I mean, you know, when else in history, think about this for a second. The Patriots in 1775, when they were being attacked by the Redcoats, they didn't have a stream like this of 60,000 people all over the world listening live. And our country's fallen a long ways from liberty, but we do have the ability. You guys are getting the message out, and it's coming out with peace and strength and principle.
Right, but they didn't turn themselves into the hands of the enemy. And that's what we're doing. If we give ourselves up, we're turning our hands into the hands of the enemy.
But you know, that's not entirely true. There were times when they lost individual battles, even though the war wasn't lost, and they retreated, or sometimes they were even taken prisoner. But it wasn't the end. They didn't just lock them away forever.
True, but we will be prisoners.
Do you know that? What year is that?
Of their injustice. We will be prisoners of their injustice.
Right, but you know what? I know, and look, I've been in their jails. I know how bad it is, and I know that there's corruption, but a lot of that's being exposed too by this. Here's the thing, because of your guys' message, because of Ammon's message, a lot of people that thought of themselves as, oh, we're conservative Republicans and we value liberty and the government, you know, will fix this for us. They're realizing that bureaucrats aren't fixing this for us. And,
no, they're not.
And look,
they're
I mean,
actually making it worse.
But at the same time, you do have people that are elected officials, and we have these trust issues. We've been led by lies by the government. But if you come out under the protection of public figures, that does give you a lot of voice. And so you have access to public officials, but even more, you have access to the world right now. And the message, look, when Lavoie died, you know, you guys remember the day they murdered Lavoie. You'll never forget it. None of us will. When that happened, Sandy, the message, at first the media tried to take control of it. But people were roused by it. People had a fire in their belly and a spark in their heart, and the message spread. And the media did not control that conversation. They didn't get away with this sham of saying, oh, he went for a gun. He was murdered, and the world knows it. And there's still people out there that are asleep, but we don't need the majority for liberty. We need a principled, tenacious minority that are willing to stand up for righteousness, that are willing to love their neighbor, that are willing to seek God. And when we do that, there can be overcoming. I have a message from Victoria here, if you guys want it.
Yes.
Okay. She says, please tell the people who are in there that I love them and my family loves them. Tell them they need to stay safe, calm, and stay alive. Tell them that I will stand with them no matter the cost. Please tell the listening audience that Victoria Sharp is asking for thousands of American citizens to exercise their First Amendment right and go to Burns and peacefully protest what the FBI is doing. Thousands of people need to go there now and tell the FBI to leave, and that they cannot hurt these people. It's time for America to stand. We can't let the FBI hurt these people. And is there any way
that's not
that was an she wants to sing, and we'll have to see if we can get her in here, because that would be great to have a hymn.
We're trying to do a recording.
Yes.
Okay, but understand, I mean, people are with you, and despite the fact that there's not as many boots on the ground as there should be, America should have stood up bolder, and there's a lot of lessons learned from this. But you guys, the lesson is learned. The message has gone out, and we're not going to let you rot in a prison cell. We're not letting the patriots that were arrested a few weeks ago rot in a prison cell.
I can't even describe to you how wrong it is I feel to be giving myself into the hands of the enemy.
But okay, don't then. Give yourself into the hands of God and let God direct your path and what to do, because there's been lots of people, there's lots of great men of faith in the Bible that they were taken into the hands of the enemy, but really they were not in the hands of the enemy, they were in the hands of God.
True.
And we know that from the Bible. I mean, look, I've been arrested before for standing up to them, and we need to know that when they abuse us, remember it says, rejoice when we're persecuted for righteousness' sake, and God does not forget us.
This is Gavin Syme's brother Nathan. I've been here the whole time.
Right.
You'll find throughout the Bible and throughout the history of the church and the history of liberty that God's people, if they go to jail, well, there's a lot of God's people that ends up there. That seems to be his primary use for them, as a place for his people to spread his message from.
He uses it to spread the message too, and none of us like this jail thing, believe me. But we're not going to forget our own in jail. If it comes to that, people aren't just going to ignore you. The word's out. People are watching. They know. And I've felt this same way when we've been on the front. We've been in situations where you don't want to stand down because we feel like we're giving in. But we're not giving in as long as we hold the banner of liberty, no matter where we are. And as long as God's on our side, in the end, we can't lose.
I do feel that way, because we've lost so many rights. We lost our right for even being here to begin with, exercising our First Amendment right. And we give in to them, we surrender, we go to jail, we're convicted. We'll never be able to have weapons again. We're going to lose all our rights. We'll lose our right to vote.
But what does it say of the wicked nation? It says that if they will repent and hear his voice and turn from their sins, that he will heal their land. And it says that if people obey the law of God, which is summed up in not only loving God, but then loving your neighbor as yourself. That's what we forgot to do in America.
That's why we were here.
I know, and that's...
Don't greater love than the person who gives their life for their fellow man.
You're right, and that's why Ammon was there. That's why you all were there. That's why all the patriots were there.
Exactly.
And that message, you know what though, Sandy? That message is out, and people are understanding that, and that message is getting out, and people more and more. I know it's slow. It's always slow. God doesn't move at our pace.
We're going to lose our rights so that other people can fight for theirs. Just want America to know that. As we go to jail and we lose our rights, it's for the people. So they better stand. They better take advantage of this opportunity.
You're right.
They're going to lose it forever, and it's going to be Nazi Germany, as it already is becoming.
We've lost liberty because we failed, but God help us. Maybe there's still an opportunity to stand. And it's important that people know, look, remember this, even when you're abused by people, no one can ever take your rights, because God gave you those rights, not the Constitution. And sometimes we're in duress, and sometimes we're even in chains, but no one can ever take our rights. And God always brings justice, even if it's not exactly in our timeline. But listen, it's not like we're going to get off here and the whole world's just going to and look, we don't even know, maybe they can negotiate something out. We know that the FBI's lost our trust. And if the FBI wants a peaceful resolution, we have to ask, why would they prevent Franklin Graham? Why would they prevent Michelle Fiore from coming? But maybe they're changing their heart on that, because it seems like they're backing down.
Yep.
I just talked with Bill, one of the FBI agents, on the blowhorn.
Okay.
And I told him that we would wait till Reverend Graham and Michelle got here in the morning. He said they'll meet us at the checkpoint. We're going to take our personal weapons and put them in our own vehicles.
Okay.
We have to make sure that they're cleared and safe. Leave the keys on the seat. They will inventory all our stuff, and we'll get that back at a later date. And then we have to walk to them with our hands raised, no weapons. I told them we're going to be carrying American flags.
Okay.
And I also told them that if they throw my wife to the ground by her hair and harm her in any way, I will come unglued, and they'll change the whole situation.
Right.
And they assured me they won't do that. They'll treat us with respect.
We want the media there.
Well, maybe you could go one at a time too, and then you can keep an eye on each other.
Yes.
We got to have the media.
We got to have the media at that checkpoint.
Witnesses.
Right, and so are they saying they're going to back off for the night and then then you're going to meet at the checkpoint?
They're not leaving, but they said they won't escalate and they won't do anything.
And are they going to let Franklin and Michelle in?
They're going to meet us at the checkpoint.
Okay. You know, I mean,
we still have 2 vehicles in the back field that I asked them to remove. They sat there for a while. They finally stopped, but they shut their lights off. And I said, we need to see them with their lights on drive back out of there because that threatens me that they're behind us.
Right.
Said he's working on that.
Okay, yeah, and they need to show a good faith. I mean, the FBI, the federal government here has been lying and lying and lying, and we know they're liars and we know they're wicked, but you know, God can still turn it to righteousness, and they need to show a show of good faith.
Absolutely.
We've been praying for them this whole time.
Right, we need to love our enemies, but that doesn't mean that as a nation we don't stand up to them either, because there's this false idea of love out there from the professing church who should be standing for righteousness. They should be loving their neighbor, but they aren't, and they're saying, oh, love is just fluffy duffy, come to our church. Love is what you guys showed down there. It's what Ammon showed. It's what you guys are showing to the American people right now. It's a willingness to love your neighbor as yourself, to lay down your life for your neighbor if need be. It's a willingness to sacrifice for the liberty of future generations. That's love, and that's what Jesus did too.
Exactly. I wish there were more of us like that here, standing right here.
Well, my wife lost her job now, I'm sure, because she couldn't go back to it. And, you know, we have bills to pay, so we're going to lose everything.
Well,
we gave everything for this country.
And the Hammonds are still in prison for it.
Yeah, they're still in prison, but we're gonna work at getting them out too. And the message, look, and it's been a struggle out here because, you know, Ammon's been mostly disconnected. You know, they took everybody at once, but it is changing. We kept up the message. Ammon's words are getting out. You know, they might arrest you guys. I mean, I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to play politician with you. I have the same fears you do. I'm not a politician, and we're in this bad situation. But the message gets out, and even if they take you to jail, the message can still get out. And let me tell you right now, people aren't going to forget you. They're not going to ignore you. But if you feel ignored or forgotten ever, if you're in jail, if you haven't been let out right away, you get a hold of me, and I'll help you.
If they'll let us have a phone call.
Yeah, they didn't let Shauna get a phone call out, and her husband had a heart attack.
I know.
Because he was so worried sick about her. He knew that everything went down, but it was, what, 3 days? 3 days or something before she was ever allowed to have a phone call.
Right.
And her husband, in the meantime, was so stressed out he had a heart attack.
I know, it's hard, but now, look, I mean, there's going to be people, the world's going to be watching, that they're not just going to haul you away into the darkness. And just like there was a massive outcry yesterday to get these patriots out of solitary confinement because it was ridiculous and abusive. All these jails are abusive. The whole justice system is broken, but there was progress. God still did act on our behalf. And so it's the message isn't lost. Look, here's a message. I got a letter from Ammon. Okay, here's a word from Ammon about being in jail, and I think it would resonate well with you guys. He says, Melina says she received a letter from Ammon, and he says he's speaking of how God is using him in jail for the cause, and it's not in vain. He's not in jail in vain. And it's not like the message is being silenced just because he's in jail. And we can't wait to get him out of jail, to get all of them out of jail. Being in jail stinks, and it's abusive. But Ammon knows that the message can still go out. And if we have to die for liberty, we die for liberty, and we do so with our head held high. But if it's not time, you know, we always want to be peaceful and wise. And just because patriots need to know, and this has happened all through history in the Bible in early America, just because you go to jail doesn't mean you lose.
We'll see.
We'll see if we ever get out of there.
Well, Ammon's in there, and he's still positive. I don't know if you guys have heard his audios. You know, yeah, it's frustrating for him, but